Hello, and welcome to the Library Lounge, where we're going to discuss writing perspectives meant to inspire you as you work on your manuscripts. Tonight, I'll be speaking with Ami Blackford about setting the stage for your workspace, as well as world building for your novel. At the end of this episode, Chester will sign copies of his new paranormal thriller for us while adding his thoughts on this topic. Grab a delicious beverage and join us for Books and Brandy in episode 2, Setting the Stage. Ami, it's good to see you in bright spirits. I know your back has been tender, so thank you for making it in tonight. Let's jump right in. Give our listeners a little insight into why you think setting the stage and cleaning up their writing area is important. Thank you, Sola. It really is good to be back. My back is still tender, but I'm happy to be in here tonight to just kind of discuss our favorite topic, which is writing. So the reason that I mean, just to put it out there, nobody likes to work in a cluttered, messy space. It just, for me, energetically, because we like to talk about energy as well. So we're combining these two topics. They really go hand in hand. I don't know if anyone has ever noticed when they clean their house and maybe move some objects around. Maybe you have some totems, some statues, some things that really mean a lot to you that you've collected over time. If you simply clean them off and move them around a little bit, it opens up the energy in the space. I'm really sensitive to energy, as you know. And so therefore, I really notice it. And when you are writing, being in that flow of energy is extremely important. So this is something that leads to writer's block, is if you're sitting at your desk and it's cluttered, it's kind of grabbing your attention. The loose mail that's sitting there, the chicken scratch on the notebook paper from the notes that you are taking, all of these things really start to add up, especially when you are trying to be in the flow of writing. And so I just really recommend that people clean up their space because it allows you to focus on what's important when you're sitting at that desk or the dining room table, wherever you're writing, so that you can focus on the actual writing and not everything that's around it. Ami, I think that's a really valid point that you're making. I, of course, keep my area very tidy all the time. And it really does add a sense of flow to when I am sitting there, whether it's to write, because as you know, I'm a hobbyist, so I don't take this part as seriously as you and Chester do. But it does help with the flow. If I'm sitting there just going on social media or I'm paying bills or whatever I'm doing at my computer, I like everything to be organized. So that's a really good point. What are the key elements that you think should be factored in? So yeah, other than, just cleaning the space and getting it organized, good lighting, I like things to be a little bit more dim. So I'll also put some LED candles out, some regular candles, like on my actual desk. I love to light a real candle right near my computer. It just kind of animates the space and it lets me know, okay, it's go time. We're sitting here, we're focusing, and it keeps me relaxed. So lighting is really important. For someone like me, I can't have it too bright. You might be the exact opposite. So if you don't work well in a dimmer setting, then you want to have, you want the room to be more cheerful and bright. So pay attention to the lighting in the room. And of course, having it reflecting. Most of us are working on laptops now. Some of you might have typewriters or you like to handwrite. But for a lot of us that work on laptops, make sure that light isn't directly hitting the screen and kind of interfering with what you're doing. And then decoration is another big one for me. I love to, because I, specialize and I work with children's work, young adult, I do like toys and different things that kind of animate the area, my desk. So I've always been known when I'm working on a particular manuscript, I will kind of try and collect some of the things that I may already own or I might purchase on Amazon that go with the story, and I'll kind of put those trinkets around my desk. So I think those are the two biggest ones. The lighting and a little bit of decoration goes a long way. Well, check on both of those for me. I have candles and decorations on my desk, so I'm excited to hear that. I love your mock-up cover designs. I know publishers usually handle this, so give me some idea why you create these for yourself. Number one, I create these for myself because of inspiration. When I create the cover, it makes it much more real to me that this story is coming to life and that it's going to be published or people are going to read it, even if I don't plan on bringing it all the way through the publishing process, because not every story is meant to be published. I have a bunch of them in my computer right now that are not published. But I always create the cover design. I always create the interior cover page, and I make it feel as real and close to the finished product as possible for that whole law of attraction thing that we've been studying for a long time. It kind of gets that energy going where you're now looking at this manuscript that you're working on as a whole. It's going to be this beautiful book at the end that's going to have a cover. I just happen to also be a graphic designer and illustrator. So for me, it's a little bit easier than maybe somebody that doesn't have those skills. But with Canva, anybody can go into Canva. They already have pre-made covers in there. Just putting your name and the title on it and finding an image that matches is plenty. What I used to do was I would print the cover and then I would wrap it around a book. So you can do that and like have the physical book. Or on this, I did the trilogy because I'm working on the Kaya Codes trilogy. And I created all 3 covers, which has me extremely excited and inspired. And then I made a I'm stumbling over those words, a screensaver over with the covers on there, displaying them. So every time I open my computer, I'm really excited and energized around the idea of not just the first book, but all 3 of them. What was your thought process around these designs? It started with this idea of there being some sort of a journal. I love when book covers have some type of a journal vibe to them, so that you feel like you're holding a piece of the story in your hand. I've been doing this since my very first manuscript, the Forest Fairy Tale Memoirs. And then I like the inside illustration to maybe mimic this journal, approach, kind of like in Tony Ditterlitz's The Spiderwick Chronicles. They have the field guide that goes with it. And I just absolutely love those illustrations. I love when it's kind of being presented in a journal context. I did that in Quest for the Dragonstone and Quest for the Elfin Elixir. So with this, I wanted it to be a more like sci-fi journal. So it's electronic, it's digital, it's like a little laptop, and I call it a field book. And so it's kind of mimicking the scouts are, my main character, my protagonist is a scout. And they have to bring these field books, into the field to collect samples in this magical realm that they're going into. And there's a penalty for them that's quite high if they lose this field book too much. So the book is going to open with this happening to her. So it's setting the tension. But I love the idea of having a journal. So I've got the journal idea that I put in there, but then I just kind of show the atmosphere, the environments, and I use my collage style, where it's lots of different images and your mind can kind of look around it and see what's coming in the book. So that was my thought process around that. Thank you for that question. That is fascinating. I'd love for you to maybe create a mock-up for me if you wouldn't mind. How do you feel emerging from this 3-year hiatus? Hopeful and terrified. It's a mixture of both. I'm excited and hopeful because, I've been building towards this one story for quite some time and exploring different aspects of it in different manuscripts that I've written. So there's all this excitement and all this shiny world building and all of these things that are going on. And I'm really thrilled with the wisdom, the insight that I've gained through the Notes to Novel with Savannah Gilbo. Her Notes to Novel course has been essential in me understanding different things like developing my theme, designing my characters and my setting around that theme, and exploring all of that. So I really do feel prepared to dive in. On the other side of that is terror. I haven't written, Revelation House broke me. So it's been like 3 years, I feel like. Yeah, about 3 years. So you got that right. About 3 years of just writing other things and not fiction. And so I've been inspiring myself with some creative writing, just little short clips. And I feel like the momentum is there, but it's that intimidation of taking the world building, because Revelation House was not heavy on the world building like the Flick Reports and the original Earth Engineers manuscript, which it's very challenging. That's all I remember. So those are even further back than Revelation House, which took me, I think it was like 8 years by the end, because I rewrote it literally 3 separate ways and had to change all this stuff. So point being, it's intimidating. The world building, weaving that in, I'm great at coming up with the ideas and generating the concepts. The more challenging part is then paring that down. Where do I introduce certain language? Where do I introduce certain, the politics or the religion, because there's kind of like this cult-like religion around the earth engineers and that whole concept. And so there's a lot of different things that I'm developing within the context of the story. And you don't want to bog the reader down. And that is the hardest part for me. I know for some people it's just coming up with the concept, but beyond that, when you're a really good idea generator, you can be too extreme with the world building, which I have not done this time. I've been very specific. Notes to Novel also teaches you that part. How do you hone in so that you don't have too much world building? You've wasted a lot of energy and time. And so I feel really equipped with all of that. It's the terror of, can I pull this off? Because it is pretty complicated. The series, I'm taking world building from 5 different manuscripts. I'm taking the best pieces from each one. And it's like a chess game, basically. So yeah, those are my mixed emotions. If a writer is listening that's struggling with this right now, emerging from the 3-year hiatus or however long they've been in this hiatus for, what can you say to inspire them to take small steps to work their way out of it? This is a really great question. The hiatus, it's intimidating to step out of it. It's almost like you keep telling yourself, I've forgotten how to do it. I don't know what I'm doing. So trying to dive right back into a manuscript is extremely intimidating. And you could loop through that for years, like kind of what I've been doing. So I think the easiest way is to inspire yourself by just little tidbits of writing, like using your content. Writers, I cannot stress this enough, only post about politics and food and all these other little topics that catch a lot of people's attention. If that has something to do with your book, write it from the context of your book. Do it professionally. Pretend like your Facebook news feed is a little mini magazine and it's your magazine or newspaper, and you're writing specific content that aligns with what you're interested in. So you're keeping you're keeping yourself engaged with the process of writing without all the intimidation, because these are just little clips. So, and it's also generating content and interest around you as a writer, around your books. And so it's like, it's a double whammy. You're getting more for your money, so to speak. I know most of us wish we were getting paid for the time spent at our computers, and we're not. But at some point you might, Point being, keep that flow going with your writing by sitting down and working on content that is very specific to your interest, that ties back into the kind of books that you're writing. Amy, I think that was really, really valid advice to give to all of those aspiring writers out there and the professional ones as well. As a hobbyist, I have to say I have no clue how you approach world building. I'm really inspired by it. How long does your world building phase last, and why do you love it so much? Okay, this is a tough question to answer, because for this series, the world building phase, like I said, I'm combining, 15 years of writing into one series. So it's been a lot of world building. So for the more intricate, if you are looking for that really intricate deep dive into world building, it could take anywhere between 10 to 15 years. I'm not even kidding, for you to really explore it. I'd actually be interested to see Brandon Sanderson. How long did it take him to develop the Cosmere? I'd really like to know that. It's probably quite some time that he put into it. So it does take, the more intricate it's going to be, obviously the longer it's going to take you. But I would say for any series, probably like 1 year. You should designate 1 year of your time to fully explore your world and develop it. And that should be more than satisfactory to properly develop the world. And the reason I love it so much, it's imagination. Imagination is my biggest gift that I was given, that I started really focusing in on as a kid. I mean, most kids have vivid imaginations, but I never set it aside. Even in my young adult years. I just continued to nurture my imagination. So it's just free and open. Unlike when you're writing a novel, there needs to be more structure. You need to be following a little bit more structure. You're just kind of hacking away, and it can be very anxiety producing. It's kind of like an illustrator with a very specific thing that they're trying to illustrate, just trying to go straight into it. No, you need some thumbnail sketches. You need to explore things. You need reference. There's a lot of things that goes into creating that final illustration. So there's a stress factor there because you are thinking about the final product. You can't help but to do that, and you actually should be doing that, or you're going to drive yourself crazy and end up with a mess of a book that most people probably won't enjoy reading. And so, the world building for me, it's just open. It's open to my imagination. The sky's the limit. None of it can be scrapped. It can be kept. And I can just have fun building my world out and exploring different concepts. So that's why I love it so much. Imagination for me it's like the Disneyland of meditation, to put those two things together. It is shiny. It is fun. It's exciting. I highly suggest every writer out there, whether you are working on science fiction and fantasy or you're writing just regular fiction, I really think you should take time every day to open up your imagination, and it will do wonders for your writing and your enjoyment of it. I really love that perspective, Amy. Thank you. How do you approach your world building? I know it can be rather intense, so give new writers an idea of how to approach this so they're able to flesh out a convincing world that readers can relate to. So I usually start with location, so the setting is really important. I mean, just the physical setting. And the way I usually approach my world building, because I write science fiction / fantasy, I like things to be based in reality. So I don't write, we're on a different planet or we're in a completely different fantasy world, usually. It's urban. So it's always based, I call it urban fantasy, urban sci-fi. It's always based in our reality here. And so there has to be some sort of research that has to go into those early stages. So that's usually where I begin, is I have a concept and then I do the real research, just gotta love Google for this. Don't just look at one thing though, when you're coming up with a concept. You need to make sure to shop around and make sure you actually find the real facts behind things. And so I start there. So I start with researching the core concepts that I'm coming up with based on the setting that I'm putting together. And then I ask myself a bunch of questions. For my story, for example, I've got 2 timelines that are crashing. It took me 6 months to figure out, what is this going to look like? Like, is it going to look like 2 worlds colliding? And there's like this almost buildup of a wall. And there's a series on Netflix, I can't remember it right now, where there's this black, like smog they have to go through. Is it going to be a situation like that where it's like a bunch of fractaled stuff? And I didn't like that idea. I first of all felt like it was going to be really hard to paint that picture, and it didn't line up with the science. And how do you have 2 timelines intersecting in a way where they're 2 alternate realities? So I had to find a way. I would just sit there at night in my imagination and go over scenarios. And I finally came up with something that does work based on science, which is we have these vortices that are all over the planet on these meridian lines that are higher frequency, because this other alternate timeline is a much higher frequency. And so they kind of click in. I was thinking of almost building blocks, that these 2 alternate realities, if they were to converge, that they would click in at certain hotspots, we'll call them, or ports is what I call them in the book. And so that's where it starts, really it does. And then I have characters that make sense, that are going to work within the context of these settings, that need to be realistic. From their name needs to mean something about who they are, what do they do, who are they as a person, what's the journey that they're going to be going on, and that ties into the theme of the book. And so that's where I start, is with the location, the setting, the characters, and then I start building out what's going to be in the setting. And I'll pick specific things that the characters are going to be doing like, eating and sleeping and building out those little sub locations within the main locations. For me, I'm writing an action adventure book. So there's going to be location changes throughout the book. And so now I need to build out logically what's going to be within each location and build those out. And then I'll think about foods and, just basically building environments for the characters to occupy that make sense within the context of the plot. So that's how I do it. And it's really fun. I just use Microsoft Word. I label everything. It can get a little nutty, but it's how I work. And then when I first wrote Flick reports, I used index cards. I think it was J.K. Rowling was the one who said that that's how she did it. So that's how I did it for Flick. I may do that for the Kaya Codes trilogy. You keep that on the desk and it's easy to reference instead of trying to look through pages and pages of world building. But keep it as simple as possible. Again, in Notes to Novel, she teaches you, pick, when you're building your world out, pick 3 to 5 main areas. Okay, so religion is one, politics is one, agriculture is one. And you want to pick categories that are going to fit the theme of your book and flesh those out. You're not fleshing out every single fucking thing. Sorry, excuse my language, but whatever. This is Books and Brandy. So point being is you want to try and limit it to these 3 categories where you're really figuring them out. And then you can have, extraneous stuff, but it should tie back into those 3 main categories that you're picking that go with your story. So yeah, that's in a nutshell how I do it. Out of all the novels you've read, which author created a world you really felt immersed in? What set it apart? Because I'm a YA author, I'm going to go ahead and say the Maximum Ride series by James Patterson. I read, I think it's 7 novels. I read them all in less than 5 months. I could not stop reading these novels. And the setting really captivated me. It wasn't dystopian. It was just regular life. So it was just regular life. But within that was this group. They were a little family. They were basically, being experimented on in this lab. And the lead, Max, has angel wings. And the thing that set it apart was the character development. And we're going to talk more about that in the next episode. I don't care what world you have. The world was intense because it was so realistic. It was really realistic, and it was combining that science fiction element in a way that was, my brain completely received it as reality. So that's what sets it apart for me. That's what I love to write, is where your brain is accepting that this is real, and it makes it as real for the reader as possible. So it's not so fantastical that it's out there. Like A Girl with Wings. Who is going to accept this? I wouldn't normally. And this became it was so well written. It was so well written within the context of the story, the way the elements were introduced, the powers of each kid in this little family that had escaped this, basically this lab. And so there's that emotional tie as well. So that's what we're going to be discussing more in the next episode. Episode 3 is character development. The characters are what set it apart. The bond between, they were like brother and sisters, and they were in this together. It was so emotional. So getting that emotion in there is what is really important, especially in any sort of speculative fiction. If you're going to be adding that element beyond the norm, you have got to up the ante on the emotion. You have to make those characters as believable as possible. They have to have a lot of dimension. So each of the characters in that had an arc. They each had their own distinct voice. He didn't have to put, Max said, it got to the point you knew exactly who was talking by the way that they spoke, the dialogue. It was so beautifully done. It really stands out even today as my favorite, I'll call it just speculative fiction, just because of the believability of the world building tied in with the emotions that it generated within me. I really believe these kids, I was rooting for them the entire time through the whole fucking series. And when something happened to them, I cried. And it takes a lot for me to feel that way. I think it's something that's missing from a lot of books that authors should definitely be paying a lot of attention to. Is, the more you build that world out is almost the more dimension you're going to need to give to the characters so that they don't feel flat up against that backdrop that you've now created that is so intense. So yeah, that's my best advice on that. And it ties into what I'm saying. I love James Patterson's work anyway, but this one really stood out to me as just excellent work. Amy, thank you for all of that. And I'm actually going to check that out. My niece really is looking for a new series to invest in. So maybe that'll be a good birthday present for her. Next up, we are going to have Amy interview Chester while he signs his new book, his new paranormal thriller, Stranded at High Castle. Chester, it's so good to see you. Thank you for signing this copy of Stranded at High Castle for me. I can't wait to give it a read. What's your favorite kind of thriller?
Thank you, Amy, for that introduction, and sometimes you do not pay attention. I have to point that out right now. It's paranormal, Amy. Look at the cover. There is a ghostly woman on the cover. It is a paranormal thriller. It is quite obvious what I love. It's right there on the cover. I think they did a very good job with the cover design, if I might say. Do you like it?
So, yes, I do like it. However, I did see this in Canva when I was working in there. I'm not trying to burst your bubble or anything, but I mean, they only put the title and your name on it. It's not that original. I hope you bought the rights to the cover. So I'm putting that out there. I know that you are very excited about this novel. So I just wanted to put that out there. That's where I'm at with that. How extensive is your world building for a paranormal thriller?
Well, that was a bit of criticism I wasn't looking forward to. Are you telling me it is just like this in Canva? I need to speak to my designer. Can we do that right now? Sola, can we do that? I know I'm signing books. It's very important, but this is why the book is only number 2 on Fair Oaks Times best-selling list. It's number 2. It is his fault. I'm sorry, but I'm going to call this out. It is the book cover design. It is lackluster. I knew it. World building. I don't do world building. The world just flows easily from my genius brain. I know it can be really intense for a lot of you authors out there. Please do not get angry at this response. But I like to feel my way through the world as I write it. And with paranormal, a ghost is a ghost. We don't really need that much world building. It's already kind of been done for me. I do my research. Ghost Hunters is wonderful. I have my bowl of nuts and my magic brandy, and I get a notebook, and I just take some notes to make the ghosts as believable as possible. That is very important to me.
So that really goes against everything I was talking about earlier with all of the planning, but you have your own process. Do you find this approach with the world building backfires on you, maybe just a little bit?
Amy, not to sound egotistical, but I do have 936 best-selling books. They're all bestsellers. So no, it does not backfire on me. I'm sorry if I sound a little upset. I feel like the cover design and knowing that it is just out there for anyone to use that can use Canva. How hard can it be to use Canva? He could have been more original with this cover design. Sola, I'm not going to be able to enjoy the rest of the signing unless you get him. Oh, you're going to? Okay, good. Maybe I'll be able to focus on this question. It does not backfire on me, Amy, at all. Okay, maybe with this book, the ghost, the paranormal thing, I could have switched it up a little bit. That might be why it's only number 2. Once you've read 936 Chester Forrester, genius pieces of work, maybe it got a little redundant. I don't know. I still think it was the cover design.
I mean, covers are really, really important. So you could be right. What's the most difficult part of building a believable world for your characters to occupy, do you think?
Amy, pardon me. I think I'm a little flustered from the whole cover thing. because I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again to be a little redundant. It's not difficult for me to build a world. Excuse me. I have a little nut in my tooth here. It's not difficult for me. Please, authors out there, do not hate me. I don't need any more hate mail being sent to me. It makes my girlfriend very nervous. She says I need to tone it down a little bit, that I might not have very much compassion for those of you that are struggling to just get your book to an agent at this point. It is a little bit easier, I'm going to say, in my world. You know, in the fairy tale world, things are just, they're magical and shiny. So again, don't hate me for saying that. That is not why I'm a best-selling author, though. Do not take my craft and my genius away from me by saying it's because I have it easier. I do not. It was the cover, Amy. I'm pretty positive of that. Thank you for having some compassion. I see now how it can go a long, long way.
Well, okay. I really wish I had this problem. It's just not difficult for you at all. It's not even a problem. It's sounding like you really have this all figured out. So I'm glad we have you on the show. What's your next project? What do you have in the works?
For once, I do not have another book in the works right now. I'm thinking, after this one only making number 2, that I am done with the thriller genre. It's time for me to move on. I think I might try romantasy. It seems very popular. I want to write some love-making scenes and just see how that goes. I don't know. I've never written fantasy before, and I've never written romance, but how hard can it be? I think it's just going to flow from my fingertips. You know, the man comes in, he's very muscular, and he sweeps the damsel in distress off of her feet. He makes a love to her over and over and over again. And there you go. It's a masterpiece. I mean, it's just, the ladies love it. Don't tell my girlfriend, she won't like hearing that, but I could use a switch up in the types of people that show up to my author visits. I wouldn't mind having a ladies' book club, if you know what I'm saying. So that's it. That's what I'm thinking about focusing on. I may end up taking one of those mysterious hiatuses just to figure it out. You've really inspired me. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Thank you, Amy, for having me on. I hope you enjoy your copy of Stranded at High Castle. Hopefully it will make number 1 so that I can exit gracefully from this genre.
This concludes tonight's episode with Chester Forrester. We hope that aspiring and professional writers enjoyed our conversation. You can find information about Amy on Facebook and Instagram. Please find those in the description box beneath this video.